One of the hardest things about being a leader or the person who's in the position of leadership, meaning that everything comes to you, especially in the school building, is embracing the unknown. The unknown could be a lot of different things to different people, but the one thing that doesn't change is that the unknown is literally the unknown. Let's talk about it.
When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody's going to clean it up.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.
Good morning, everyone. It is sometime around 5 o'clock in the morning, and I decided to make this episode of the Sneaker Principal podcast to discuss the unknown. And unfortunately, as I was here going over my notes that's on my tablet right in front of me, the tablet died. It's probably for not charging it, but it's okay. I am going to go ahead and proceed with my phone for my notes. And I'm not one of those content creators who has everything memorized. I know what I want to say, but I want to make sure that I don't ramble on as I've done in the past. Try and have a more professional feel to my podcasts. So this morning, I want to talk to you about embracing the unknown, especially when it comes to school, transformation, and just leadership in life in general. You know, one of the things that is so hard about being a school leader is the fact that often what you do and who you are kind of become one. People are unable to separate the two. And maybe that's something that is actually the reality for almost every profession. But something's different about being a school leader, because as a school leader, there's an expectation that you are everything in that space. And let's first of all understand what we're talking about here. We're talking about the school building. School is where children, young adults, people are sent to learn information, to learn how to be in society, to do all the things that they need to do to be able to function as informed citizens, right? At least that's what we're told. And for schools to function, you have to have your students, of course, but then also have your instructors, the teachers. Students without teachers, kind of hard to have a school. But within that space also, you need support staff, because teachers can't do it all. Their primary responsibility is to engage students. So you have front office staff, secretaries, purchasing, procurement, people accounting, payroll. You have school aides, very important. They're the ones who are doing a lot of the day-to-day operational things, dropping off, picking up laptops, making sure attendance is on point, making sure kids are in the classrooms and not just wandering the hallways. Sometimes they take over in the main office, answering phone calls. Sometimes they're dropping off mail in the post office. They're picking up packages. They're delivering packages. They're taking care of supplies. Then you have the cafeteria staff who are cooking, cleaning, making sure the cafeteria is presentable for the kids who come and eat breakfast and lunch. You have typically a nurse or in our case, you have literally medical staff, you have a doctor, you have a clinic. It's wintertime right now, so kids have the sniffles, they have the cough. COVID is kind of like an uptick. All these little things are happening, all within the school building. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the custodial staff. You have a broken broken doorknobs. The classroom has to be cleaned. There's just a million and one things happening within the school. People just see literally the school building, and they see kids walking in there, and they think students, classrooms, and that's it. But then you also have to have the point person, who is the one to make sure that all the little nuances of daily life in a school building is operating fluidly. And you have school leadership, principal, assistant principal. In some cases, teacher leaders like the deans, academic deans, coaches, guidance counselors, all these facets, all these parts of a system that needs to be in play for a school to function. However, literally everything has to go through the filter of the principal, the person who at the end of the day is held accountable, and I'm going to change that. It's not who's in charge. It's the person who's held accountable for making sure that the system is functioning properly. Okay, I'm going to say it again. People have the assumption, you're a principal, you're in charge. No, you're not in charge. There are steps above you that are in charge. Your job is to make sure that everything is running and functioning as it should. You're the one who's held accountable, which means now that all accountability comes to you. If kids are not fed, you're accountable. What happened? Kids are sick, and they don't make their way to the nurse or the doctor, and it was known, or it was seen, or there was the perception of there was something wrong, and that didn't happen. It falls on you. You're accountable. Kids are not performing. Test scores are dropping. Attendance is dropping. All these different things. Guess what? You are held accountable as the leader, specifically as the principal. In some cases, the assistant principal might be thrown into the mix, but at the end of the day, you are the one who's accountable. And the problem with this, and not even the problem, the reality, there are so many unknowns. And when you have these unknowns, it does create anxiety, for veteran and new and middle career school leaders. I know people who walk into their building every day with a sense of dread. Literally, they walk into their building and they're thinking to themselves, what's going to go wrong today? I also know those who move into their buildings and everything is always, the glass is almost to the top. Not even half full. The glass is almost to the top. They find excitement in what they do every day, and they keep building the body of knowledge, and they have a clarity of foresight and insight into what should be happening in their spaces. But typically these people are people who've been doing this for a long time, and no matter, and yes, there are sometimes things will happen that you are not ready for, and I've had that through my career. Many things have happened I'm not ready for. But however, even when or you've experienced a lot, the unknown is always going to be there. So now, why is it important to embrace the unknown? And let me see here. I'm going to use my notes here on my phone because my tablet is still charging. First of all, let's go back. The fear of the unknown in leadership. Okay, so leaders are often afraid of the unknown. When we talk about those things that could happen or those areas that they're being pushed to move into, those uncharted territories. Like I said earlier, it creates a sense of anxiety, fear, they start to doubt themselves, because often what the unknown is those areas where you feel weakest at, or those areas where you feel not as well prepared for or trained for. So, and so you, of course, you start to get nervous. You start to question yourself. And the other part is, and no one wants to say this often, what's really happening is you fear being found out. To found out that you don't know. You know, we're in the education business, and in the education business, there's a perception that you have to have all the answers, that you are smart, that your abilities are tied into your intelligence. So if you walk into a space and as a leader and you're asked something about education, then all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, I should know that answer. Why don't I know that answer? And then because of that, you start to second guess yourself, or better yet, you lie and act like you know what's going on. You know, and you might say, hey, I'm gonna take care of that. I'm gonna make sure that that's done. But you don't even know how to do it. It might be a reading program, it might be scheduling, it might be handling a situation, you know, and then you find yourself going to the manual, or trying to find the answer online, or even worse, not asking for help. You know, so all of a sudden you're in this place, this place of the unknown, because again, now you have, you know, bitten off more than you can chew, and you now fear being found out. And these are things that often cripple schools, because as the point person that everyone goes to, you start to kind of hide behind, you know, your inadequacies, those things that that weaken you, those things that you fear, you hide behind, you know, they take over, and all of a sudden you're asking yourself like, oh my God, how do I get out of this? And I'm saying this because there are those of you out there right now who every day you wake up, you are literally like suffocating in fear, because you let the unknown take over. You let the unknown be your crutch. And I have to say to you that you cannot let that be the case. You have to embrace the unknown. So in my career so far, I have not been perfect at all. And thank God for that, because I choose to not be perfect. I choose to be excellent in what I do, in my outcomes, or in my growth, and in my learning. I tend to be excellent in admitting that I have no idea what you're talking about, and excellent in saying I can find out, I can improve, but I choose not to be perfect. So I embrace the unknown. You know, one of the things that I've been proud about in my career is that every space I've walked into, I've opted to go into dark places. And what I mean by dark places, to go for those challenges that I know this right here, might be a bad idea, in the sense that I might be taking on more than I can chew. But the thing I've loved about doing that is that it's allowed me to be in a space of learning, of assessing, of engaging others, and saying, hey, how do I do this? How do I get better at this? How do I figure this problem out? You know, how do I build a team to make this thing not a weakness, but a strength? And the challenge of that has always been not knowing, because often you might plan, you know, and have an idea of what the outcome is going to be, and you get kicked in the mouth, and it's completely the opposite. But however, the best part of it all is when you walk into the unknown and you've done your homework, you've asked the right questions, you've gotten the right help, you have the right supports, you built the right team. The unknown doesn't become as scary anymore. what happens is that the unknown starts to unravel. You take a step forward, you realize, that didn't work. Take another step. Oh, okay, that's working better. They make adjustments, and all of a sudden you have a flashlight. So that dark space is not dark anymore. You have a flashlight, you have companions, and you're moving forward into the darkness, figuring out what the problem is. So that problem might be, how do I improve my attendance? I have no idea. Then you study the data. You look at historical trends. You visit and talk to schools that have, solved that problem or have improved upon that problem. Student performance, same thing. Teacher efficacy, same thing. Parental engagement, same thing. Turning a whole entire school around. Taking that big monster of a task and saying, how do I break it down to the smallest parts? How do I filter out the noise so I can focus in on what I need to do? These are all part of embracing the unknown. I've always looked at the work as a game. And please do not misunderstand when I say by game. I'm not talking about like some, child's play. I'm likening it more like to chess or strategy. Something requiring immense strategy. Like a Sherlock Holmes mystery. You have the problem, but the problem comes with so many questions. And your goal is to solve this mystery, these series of problems to get to an outcome that is beneficial to all parties involved. So sitting down and being able to think, engage, assess, these are the things that I believe, makes the unknown like an amazing space to be. Go through my notes here. And one of the things too is you can't, as a leader, make the unknown only about you. I always relay this to my team. I am not the smartest person in the room, and I do not want to be the smartest person in the room. If anything, I want to attract and bring together the smartest people that I can find. So collectively, we can figure out the problem. We can come to a solution. But if you're going to do that, which you must do, bring amazing, smart people together, figuring out who on your staff can be of immense asset, not just to you, but to the whole entire journey towards improvement and solving the mystery, or, embrace and going into the unknown. But you have to empower them to be able to do so. You cannot take your fear and pour it on them. I'll tell you this right now, guys. I am constantly in my head doubting myself. And it's not a bad kind of like doubting yourself. I'm not like sitting here saying, oh my God, I can't do this. This cannot be done. I question every move. I question every decision. And again, I think that is the act of a responsible leader. You don't let it paralyze you, but your brain is always on and you're always assessing. But sometimes you might have to make a pivot at the drop of a dime. Like, oof, we got to make a shift here. I just saw something, and I just did my numbers, and that doesn't add up. And that's where I live. And I have to live there because, my leadership team is about six to seven people, brilliant people, very intelligent, very capable. But again, it's seven people, seven personalities, seven ability levels, several emotional intelligences. And it's like an orchestra. I have to manage them all because they are all intertwined. One piece connects to all the other seven pieces, and this is how they move. So often they don't see the full picture. They don't see how they connect to each other. And that's my responsibility. So I am the one who sits there and says, okay, making sure the team is functioning properly. But at the same time, I have to give them the leeway and the ability to truly embrace the unknown, to be excited about the work, to move forward, but also knowing that, it's my responsibility if one of them are drifting too far to the left or too far to the right, that I bring them back to center. I have to pay attention to them and see what their part is in our journey through the unknown. We have to create and maintain a culture that embraces the unknown. But you, the leader, are the one kind of to oversee how the ship is sailing, how the bus is driving, how all the members of this team, and if also your overall community are moving in that direction. You're the one setting the standard. You're the one setting the pace. You're the one setting the vision of where you're going as a leader. But the most important thing is you cannot be afraid. You must embrace the unknown more so than anybody else. The greatest outcomes have come from people who are willing to step into the dark, who are willing to move into spaces where others were not willing to go. I've taken schools, I've moved into communities where most people would have said, no, you're out of your mind. That's not a good move. That's not a good career move. And I made my decisions not because of career. I've made my decisions because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something that others were not willing to do, because I knew at the back end of it, there are children, young adults, teachers, a whole entire community of stakeholders who needed vision. They needed a mission to fight for. They needed something to move them forward, to get them out their rut, to see themselves differently, to smile again, to laugh again, to enjoy the work. For me, that is the impact that I've always wanted to have wherever I was assigned, wherever I chose to be. But when you move in that direction, you move like that, you're always dealing with the unknowns, and the biggest unknown is always like, it fails. Nothing that you're not able to make the moves or make the shifts that are needed. So, in conclusion, stepping into the unknown and embracing potential of failure or what the bad things can happen, and when you do it intentionally, when you truly intentionally embrace these things, it is freeing. It gives you like this centering when you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. At minimum, I know why I'm doing it, versus being in a space where you're just like shaking in your boots. And when people show up in the district or wherever, you're like, oh my God, am I in trouble? Why are you here? Oh, I don't want them to. No. If you do it right, you're an open book. You're like, listen, come, help me. Look at this. It's like working on a classic car, and you're around other enthusiasts, and they come in, and you're like, come see what I'm doing. Look at this engine I'm building. But I have a problem. I can't figure out how to do this thing right here. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, yeah, come on. We got you. Now, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And you're like, okay. You put all these pieces together, and you're seeing the mystery unravel. You're seeing the unknown become known. Then, ultimately, you see an outcome that was always intended. And that is the success, the joy, the happiness, the fulfillment, the progress, the excellence of a school community. All right, y'all. This is Uche Njoku. Thank you again for being here on the Sneaker Principle Podcast. Until next time.